This is World War Z. We're here on Xbox Series S. Be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. And we're diving into this cooperative zombie killing experience that is kind of along the lines of Left 4 Dead, very, very similar to that. And it is kind of based also on the property that is from Paramount's movie World War Z with Brad Pitt. Also, you know, there was like a book and stuff, but this is kind of based on Paramount's blockbuster film. Yeah, blockbuster film that, you know, didn't really go anywhere past the first movie, and I think this game's actually had more longevity and updates and whatnot to it, which is kind of funny. So what are we getting here? It's like dynamic 1080p, 60 FPS, and you know what? Honestly, it's not too bad looking on the Series S. Yeah. I mean, there are some heavier situations because this game absolutely is stacked with zombies. This area may not show it off perfectly well, but yeah, there are some places where you just fight against absolutely massive swarms of the undead. It's pretty crazy. So you can play cooperatively through like quick play campaigns or just like set up your own campaigns that people can join in and leave and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty cool. Or you can like competitively play against each other, though I think it's a little harder to come across folks nowadays in that regard. But yeah, it's really quite cool. The cooperative elements are really cool, and the multiplayer stuff's really cool. Where you're actually competing against each other. Like it's a bit of a competitive shooter, and then you mix in zombies kind of going around. It's really quite interesting. Honestly, yeah, actually. Overall, this game itself is very good. I thoroughly enjoyed playing this one. I think it's got a lot of great replay value and content to it. And then there was this big aftermath kind of update they did. And yeah, it was just kind of a really nice, comprehensive package of zombie shooting and destroying. I think you can have a blast working through this, you know, not only from the context of like finishing it, but also in the context of basically, you know, upgrading and improving your characters because there's different classes. I'm like a medic class, and you know people fit into different roles, and you get all these different scenarios too. It's neat. It goes from these intensive story type things to wow. I was actually really close to getting some achievements, and I just never bothered finishing that off. Wow. Okay, there we go. 10,000 zombies. You can see I've slain hordes of the undead. But yeah, you get this variety of stuff where you're like moving through areas, doing certain procedural things. Then you have segments where you've got to like defend areas. So there's a good variety in this one in terms of like what you're doing to fight against the undead. But it very much is in the vein of, you know, the Left 4 Dead kind of franchise. It's a cooperative zombie game where you go from like checkpoint to checkpoint fighting the undead. But you get a wide range of locations. You know, it goes well beyond the scope of like basically what the film had. It's almost a bit of a shame because, you know, I think this universe was sort of ripe because it was just like horrifying the speed and the intensity that these zombies kind of provide. And yeah, they're sort of crazy. Honestly, they're just wild. And there's like a huge selection of characters that you can play as, and yeah, it's just kind of really fun whether you're jumping in from a sort of casual perspective where it's like, oh, I'm here to, you know, sort of do the story stuff, or here I'm just here to mulch through some zombies. There are a lot of kind of options present. I mean, just look at that. It's ridiculous. It's just the quantity. It's like a swarm of nightmares. Like, it's utterly ridiculous. But yeah, this is a pretty big deal. I guess we got like full crossplay, so you can work together, and you get to visit all these crazy places and do all this crazy stuff. They just, honestly, they kind of nail it. And you need no knowledge of the movie. I've just kind of mentioned it a couple times because I'm sure that's what some people kind of remember this from. The movie's fairly old now too, so I don't know if people are super well aware of World War Z as a film, but it was a book initially. It was kind of a neat book. Yeah, definitely the way in stylings they did it of like the zombie wars and stuff. And then I think there was supposed to be like 3 movies, like it was supposed to be a big trilogy, and then I guess the second ones were too costly in budgeting stuff, and they never panned out, and Paramount just kind of stopped. But honestly, I think the first one did okay, so I'm a little surprised, especially with Paramount being desperate for franchises and IP that is, you know, somewhat successful. I'm surprised they didn't try to dig a little deeper into this one and mine it more, because, you know, outside of even doing big budget ones, you know, using this IP to do like little, I guess you would say, zombie type movies might be kind of cool. Little zombie stories could have been well used. I know I'm getting really off topic, but you know, we are looking at this after quite a while, so it's just kind of interesting. And I mean, it's on brand, right? Like this is based on the movie, so it makes sense. Although, again, very lightly, it's basically it's entirely its own thing. It's just building off of that brand awareness. And did the brand awareness work, or was this just a really good zombie game? It's a hard question to say, really, right? But yeah, they've actually got like a really good, detailed environment. Oh, I'm going to absolutely die. Guys, I need help. I need help so badly. Medkit. Yeah, they were just slapping me down there. It was pretty grim for a second. You do actually need to work together. Yeah, it is a good question, though, where it's like, did the brand kind of sell this one initially, or did the game just being really, really great do that? I don't know. But it's fun. It really is. It's genuinely a blast to play this. You know, you just get to destroy all the zombies. I think we're in, like, Moscow right now. I think this was one of the later added things. And there's different, like, core survivors with actual, like, story stuff from area to area to area. But you can also play as, like, just a bunch of, like, custom characters. Like, I just picked one from a large selection of individuals, and I was like, that's cool. And off we go for another fun adventure as we continue the Moscow campaign, really is what this is. And I think we're at about the halfway point or so, and our survivors continue forward. But it's very, very much along the vein of Left 4 Dead in the sense that, you know, you get through the different check marks, checkpoints, I guess. Oh, check marks, checkpoints. Same general concept of where you're going to these areas, these holding spaces. And that's where, when one little level area ends, you get a moment to sit there and essentially, you know, customize your classes, improve your character, you know, do things, adjustments. There's a wide range of different guns, and then there's gun skins, and there's just a lot you can do in regards to personalizing your experience even further. As I had said, it was honestly super impressive, the amount of content this got and the longevity it has as a title, since it's something that I think quite a few people really have tried or gotten into. And if you're still waiting to kind of try it, it really is something that is a blast to play. I would easily recommend this experience if you just want to sit there and mulch through zombies, or if you're looking for something that is a very good competitor, some would say, to Left 4 Dead, or a good alternative, because we've gotten quite a few of them, but not a lot of the games hit the mark of being something in that genre or that game type quite like this one does, which I think is really special and great. And it's so easy to play with others too. Like, it's nice. I just literally jumped in, you know, was able to connect with players and are sitting here just mulching zombies together. And the zombie deformation's pretty great. I've seen a little gnarlier now that we've had, you know, Dead Island 2 there, but there's actually some pretty good zombie deformation where you get to see them kind of like burst apart and stuff like that. Very, very well done. It just creates a much more immersive, gruesome experience, particularly when it's massive groups, right? That's one of the things is, you know, it's hard to fully kind of hit that, considering you have just these massive groupings of like zombies, and just to see them kind of like fall apart into bits is ever so satisfying. Like, when you get on like the big guns too, and you're just like mulching through hordes, it's ever so satisfying to see that all kind of go out in action. It can get really, like, insanely crazy. I know we've had some spots where it's like, oh, there's lots of zombies, but like, these areas still feel almost underwhelming compared to some of the stuff I've seen in other parts of the game, where you're just watching just absolutely insanely massive swarms just like roam across areas, and you're just like desperately trying to keep alive, if that makes sense. Like, desperately trying to not die against all these creatures, the undead. Well, it's kind of like, it's a good mix, because like at some time, like at some point, you know, you're kind of moving around and it's like it's a little bit quieter and it builds up the immersion. And then other times it just gets really genuinely crazy. Did I heal someone else instead of myself? It's kind of a little wild. Is there like another health pack there? Because I'm like, I wonder if I can apply that, get a full health, and then take the extra one. I already have a med kit. Is it because I'm a medic? I have lots or something? Okay, whatever, doesn't matter. Let's roll. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. I also think that like the world itself looks really good. There's a good amount of detail in it. It's dense. The character models look excellent. Oh, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. An absolutely massive, horrifying horde of zombies to deal with. Wow. Isn't that genuinely terrifying? Could you imagine this in real life, seeing like a horde like this? I think that's why the World War Z film kind of really hit the mark for like horror type stuff. Like it's kind of a little bit of a silly film to a degree. I mean, like, you know, it's like Brad Pitt doing stuff. It's not necessarily like too incredible, but I think you can give that film the element of, wow, the hordes were genuinely terrifying. Seeing the, you know, groups of people, the panic and all that kind of break out, I think was really, really cool. And it's just sort of something in the context of like, wow, and, you know, in a situation, if you were in that, it would be really, really terrifying to see that. Because you would just be shocked at just the pure insanity of like groups like that coming in. Especially since, like, what are you going to do against it? There's more of them coming. Oh, jeez. And there's, like, directional things, too, so your squad can actually, like, kind of communicate to a degree. We're just showing off the cooperative stuff, but if you do get the opportunity to play, like, the competitive element of it, I would also highly recommend that, because it is a lot of fun. You're just doing all this objective-based stuff, and then there's hordes and hordes of zombies roaming everywhere, and so it can get kind of wild. I really like this game. It's honestly just a blast to play. I think you've been really missing out on it if you haven't dove in and explored the wildness of it. Like, it's not even fully being shown to the perfect degree, because we're in, like, the snowy portion of the game. You know, it's Moscow, it's freezing, it's cold, dealing with the Moscow zombies. But it has such a variety of places, you know, more city, well, this is a city, like, focus place. But you get areas that are a bit more friendlier in climate, and just a great variety of different situations that come up is what I'm mostly trying to get to. And then you get all these special infected type zombies too. Nothing like too silly, if that makes sense. But, you know, kind of intensive enough where you go, oh, that special infected is a little terrifying to deal with. And they'll grab your teammates. Like, I think they do a really good job of taking the Left 4 Dead formula and then doing their own thing with it. It's something where I honestly am surprised we haven't had more games, you know, take this sort of concept and do more with it. It just sort of seems we got Left 4 Dead, and then everyone was like, oh, they're great games, and then kind of quiet, and then you get the odd clone here or there, but it took like years for that, and then I don't think anything's necessarily too crazily hit that trend perfectly well. I mean, this game's found great success, that's for sure. I mean, there's a reason we're revisiting it at this point. Giving it another whirl, some would say. Because it's a great game, and it's a perfect time to tie it into. But yeah, it's just kind of a blast of an experience. It's a very easy to recommend sort of thing for me. If the gameplay itself hasn't already sold you, or me kind of talking it up, however much I've been talking it up, but yeah, seriously, you should probably jump in and play it if you want a good co-op zombie time. And if you get like a group of pals, you know, working through this too, it gets even better. It's really quite a splendid experience for a group to work through. It's fun alone, you know, you can run and end up with randoms and stuff, but it is actually greater with a proper team, and it can just be a blast to slay the undead with. And I think the first time you actually really get a horde going towards you, you'll be so pleasantly surprised. It'll be, oh my, look at all these things. And, you know, they give you the guns and that, but I don't even know if the guns can fully prepare you for just the quantity of zombies that sometimes just stack up. There's also differing difficulty levels, too. So it can get pretty wild, needless to say. Especially if you get to those huge swarms in some areas. Failing isn't the worst, but, you know. I think, for the most part, unless you're going for crazy difficulty type things, I don't think it's necessarily too bad. And, you know, solving stuff in this isn't too hard either. It's mostly just interacting with things on your path to killing zombies. That's what the game is. Like, it knows what it is, it knows what it wants to be, and it just leans in on that. Doesn't try to have you solving some ridiculous sort of thing. All this stuff is just sort of background context for you doing your zombie slaying as a crew. What a fun game. Honestly, it's just like an absolute blast. I may be babbling and meandering to some degree while going over this one, but, you know, it just really hits the mark from a visual standpoint, a fun perspective, the way it plays, the way it handles, the way it looks, the sheer ridiculousness of the zombies that you have to, like, just maul through, the challenges, the spaces you go and fight in, the variety of spaces. It's something where I do actually hope we get a sequel or continuation. I don't know where you would really go from this point, honestly, but yeah, I am actually really desiring even more of this if they could expand the scope upon it. Maybe even if we're gonna get more content to it down the road too, would be, I think, a really great idea, you know? I would not mind even more expansions and stuff. They've added a super healthy amount, though, seriously. I don't need more to be added to this. It already feels like a very, very complete package, a beyond complete package, I would say. So, oh wow. You know, not necessarily getting across that we need more, but I would always welcome, you know, more content in this one. Oh jeez, I am having some trouble here. Okay, I need a little bit of a med kit kind of going on before I die. There's a lot of zombies. A lot of zombies. World War Z, yeah. Grab that extra med kit. And disinfect. Yeah, they got so many fun little things in it. I love that it's got neat stuff, but not something where you feel like you constantly are getting like weighed down by what's happening. And then your AI opponents, your AI teammates, well, depending on the situation, there's definitely quite a few AI opponents, some would say, for the zombies. But yeah, depending on the teammate structure, whether you have real players or the AI, the bots are actually decently helpful in this one, from what I recall. They seem to actually put in a bit of an effort in assisting you in your situation. Could you guys... Uh-oh. See, it's not too bad, this one, until you get to a situation where you are swarmed and they're all around you, and there's not a whole lot you can do to sort of, like, brush them off, if that makes sense. I mean, you do got some melee stuff and, you know, different things here or there, but yeah, it's when the swarms overwhelm you, that's when things get really bad and your, you know, situation kind of falls apart, if that makes sense. Ivan over there, just sitting around, chillaxing. They're using this space really effectively, too. I don't know, World War Z in general, I think, is a really, really great game. It's very easy for me to say, check it out. I think you'll have a great time with it, just like I have been. And then the experience just gets more and more wild the more you play, the more stuff you get. And I guess the easier it sometimes becomes to mulch down all the zombie enemies.